morning. It is 5 Live, 7 minutes past 10. Victoria, Derbyshire with you. A little later in the programme, we're going to talk about the regular attacks on ambulance workers and a call today that all crews should now wear CCTV cameras effectively to try and deter attacks against them. I'd very much like to hear from you if you are a member of an ambulance crew, whether you would welcome that idea, and particularly if you have been attacked in the course of your job. 0500 909 693. First this morning, there are an estimated 50 million cyber attacks in the UK every year, ranging from financial theft to viruses being installed onto computers to data security breaches. The government says the overall threat to this country is comparable to international terrorism. And there's a warning this morning that the UK is nowhere near enough ready to deal with it, largely because we don't have enough trained people to keep ahead of the hackers. According to the European Union, the UK will need 500,000 more IT specialists by next year to combat the threat. More than 8% of the UK's economy is based on the internet. That's a greater share than any other G20 country, apparently. And as a result, cybercrime costs us between 18 billion and 27 billion pounds a year. Here are a few examples of the growing threat posed by electronic crime.
If you think about the infrastructure of business, of government, of citizens in the UK today, it's massively dependent on information technology, on data. We all have a phone or a smartphone or a computer at home. So the whole fabric of the economy is now dependent on an infrastructure which is inherently vulnerable.
NatWest has blamed a cyber attack for disruption to online banking services earlier today. Less than a week ago...
The news agency, the Associated Press, has confirmed it's had its Twitter account hacked. A bogus post about explosions at the White House went online earlier today. US markets were spooked by the tweet, with the Dow Jones...
People inadvertently downloading complex malware or viruses onto their computer by opening emails that are claiming to be from their bank, and detectives from the cyber crime unit were alerted to that, and they noticed that £1 million had been siphoned from...
MPs say that we're losing the fight against electronic crime. We'll ask the UK's most senior police officer who deals with the problem what he can do to turn things round.
The White House is investigating reports that hackers have tried to gain access to the Google email accounts of senior American officials. Google says it has disrupted an operation to hack into hundreds of accounts which it believes originated in China.
The internet is being used by a range of organised crime groups to carry out and facilitate their normal business. Drug trafficking, yes, but also in the world of sex trafficking, in the world of payment card fraud, major credit card fraud.
This country needs an increased capability to protect ourselves, not only against cyber attacks on the government, but on businesses, on individuals. Such attacks can become, in the future, a major threat to our economic operations in this country and to our economic welfare, but also to national infrastructure such as the electricity grids and so on.
Well, what's being done? Today the government's launching its UK-wide Computer Emergency Response Team, which will be in charge of dealing with any cyber attack. Since 2011, the government's pledged £860 million to establish a new national cyber security programme. But will there be the people to fill the jobs? The National Audit Office says there's been a decade-long decline in computer science teaching in schools and universities, and that it will take 20 years to bridge the gap. The CBI says 4 out of 10 companies say they're struggling to find people with the right advanced computer skills, and 2/3 of employers aren't satisfied with even the basic IT skills of their own staff. In March, the government announced plans to teach children as young as 11 about careers in cybersecurity. Last week, a team of teenagers from Stockport School won the inaugural School Cyber Games final at Warwick University. Our reporter Rowan Bridge went to meet some of them, and they told him how they'd won the competition, but also how the skills needed to protect IT networks are exactly the same as the ones used by hackers to crack codes and passwords.
It was interesting when we got there, it was all set up so well, so it was like a murder scene when we first got there. And throughout the day with these activities, we did a lot of activities, and at the end, when you cracked the code or you broke the activity or you hacked into whatever, you got given a clue for the grand finale at the end of the day, and it was a picture. We had 6 pictures, and we had to figure out what the name of the murderer was by using these pictures to spell his name phonetically.
Tell me a bit about password hacking and what you learned here and how that played into it.
when we got this website, which was one of the clues, we had to go on a website and we had to go on a computer, and it came up with like this login, and for the password it said forgot password, and as when you forget a password you normally have a security question, and like to find out what the questions were we had to go onto like several websites, like social media websites, because that's where people put on, without even thinking about it, what the questions and answers could be to that. So one of them was on Facebook where he put the name of his pet, one of them was on Twitter where like his date of birth, and then one of them was on Instagram where he put his favourite food, and literally just type that in, and then you've got the password. You're literally just using what you think that could be like people without knowing put stuff on, and then you can simply just break into their account by doing that.
It makes it apparent these days how easy it is to just hack into anything, how people think things are secure, but in fact things that they add online aren't as secure as they think. So people who put information on social media sites, they don't know who can actually view them. I think that's a big flaw in today's society.
One of the people we were talking to was saying how his job, he got a job, he studied biology at university, and because he thought he can never do this hacking that he wanted to do legally as a job, and then he went to this conference and he found out that he could actually get paid a fair bit of money. Companies would pay him to try and hack into their accounts and find the flaws in it so that they could make their accounts and websites stronger.
People don't actually know that there is this opportunity in school, and I think if people did, then you might be a bit more secure in the future with people going into the job, but it's the fact that people don't know it, so they're not going to go into the job because they don't know what it is.
And it's the fact that throughout history, like the people who have been working on computer programs, or even back in the old days where like it was code breaking, like their names don't get revealed because it's of use of the government to keep them secret, and a lot of the time those heroes die off before their story is told, like the famous story of Alan Turing breaking the Enigma. And it's a real shame because it stops people being inspired by the subject, because it can't be freely spoken about in the public while it's current, and it's like history by the time it can be talked about.
That's Caris, Oliver and Rebecca. They are 14 and 15 years of age and they're from Stockport School. Later in the programme we will speak to a hacker from the group Anonymous. They've been behind a number of high-profile cyber attacks, and he will tell us why he will never use his computer skills to help businesses or the government prevent future cyber attacks. Let's talk now to Stephanie Damon, Chief Executive of the Cyber Security Challenge. They ran that competition for schools, and Mike Gillespie, who runs Advent IM, the security firm in the West Midlands which looks at cyber security. Hello, both of you. Welcome.
Hello, good morning.
We hear about the skills shortages regularly. Why does it matter when it comes to computer skills, cyber skills?
It matters, I think, for all the reasons that we've been hearing so far this morning. Our lives are very much run around an internet backbone these days. So all your banking, all your social media, all of the things that you do link into the internet. And to feel confident about operating on that internet, we need to feel that it's a safe environment. And it's cybersecurity professionals that make that environment safe. So if you don't have enough of them, then you're not going to feel very confident continuing to use those services.
How likely is it that we will get another 500,000 IT specialists by 2015 to help combat the threat of cybercrime here in the UK?
It's a very big number, but that is IT professionals, and there's a big range covered by IT professionals. Only a proportion of those would be cybersecurity professionals. But I suppose it emphasises just how important it is to start now, and there are a lot of initiatives around, of which Cybersecurity Challenge UK is one. There are a number of others that the government has also put in place. But in our case particularly, we have two strands of work which I think are very key to this. The first is the schools programme, which of course you've heard about through Stockport I have to say congratulations. It was an all-woman team or all-girl team, which is great. But we have another strand of work, which is reaching out to what I call the hidden talent that's in this country. And I think you heard some of that earlier as well. There are lots of people out there who actually have very, very marketable skills, but they don't realise they have those skills, and they don't know there are good jobs out there. And there are a number of reasons for that, but we need to reach those people and pull them into the industry, and that will give us a chance of narrowing that gap.
How many cyber security professionals, as you describe them, do you estimate that we need in this country?
It's very difficult to give you a number. It's certainly, I would say, in the hundreds of thousands. Part of the problem is that it's a very young profession. So a cybersecurity professional is not fully defined. Some jobs might be classed as cybersecurity professionals by one company, but not by another company. So it's very difficult to give you an actual figure, but we are talking hundreds of thousands, without doubt.
Are you satisfied with what is being taught in schools in this subject?
Certainly up until now, the answer to that would have been very much no. We haven't been teaching computing very well, a fact that's actually been recognised very clearly by the government with a new curriculum that starts in September. But that's one of the reasons that we have our particular issue. A lot of people didn't get taught this in schools, taught themselves, and if you teach yourself, you don't always realise that what you've got is a marketable skill that will lead you into a good career. So not up until now. I have great hopes that from September we'll be in a much better place.
Let's bring in Mike then. Do you struggle to recruit, Mike, or not?
Yes, we certainly do. And in fact, if I could just pick up on that last point, most of us in the profession today are first-generation hobbyist practitioners. We got into cybersecurity because it was a hobby of ours. We found we could get jobs doing it, and then most of us have been very fortunate to do our hobby as a living for most of our lives. And you heard it there in the schools part where they were saying a lot of them don't realise that there are careers in cybersecurity. They don't realise that if you're really good at maths, you could potentially go into a career in cryptography and security. They don't realise that there are a whole load of other skills, not just about IT, that will enable them to get careers in cybersecurity. And as a result of that, we are struggling to recruit very much, and that's a common theme across all of our peers. They're all saying that they struggle to get high-quality young people into the profession to start with, and then to stay in the profession and to get good quality skills.
What does a career in cybersecurity mean? What would you be doing, potentially, on a daily basis?
Well, on a daily basis, you could be working with a range of other professionals, helping them to understand their part in the whole holistic cybersecurity landscape. So we work not just with IT people, we work with HR people, we work with business people, we work on business strategy.
Doing what?
A lot of the... Sorry?
Doing what?
Helping organisations to build a strategic approach to security rather than just a technological one. Many of the data breaches and many of the cybersecurity breaches that we have occur because of poor education of our workforce in general, not just because of the way that the technology has been configured. So people downloading inappropriate software or clicking on phishing emails. A recent report says that 1 in 4 employees still don't know what phishing is. So we need to educate the workforce as a whole, and so a lot of our time is spent working with non-technological people, helping them to understand the threats and how they can play their part in protecting ourselves from the cyber threat.
And what is phishing, just for the record?
So phishing is when you get one of those emails that says your bank account has been frozen, please click on this link, or something similar to that. And there's a variation of that called spear phishing, which is a highly targeted email designed to target executives in particular, and very plausibly ask them to click on a link, which then allows software to be downloaded to a machine, which then allows an attack to take place.
Let's bring in Kevin in Inverness, who has personal experience of this. Hi, Kevin.
Hi, Victoria, how are you?
I'm very well, thank you. You've been a victim of electronic crime in just the past fortnight.
Yes, about 10 days ago, I went out to check the business bank account, and there was £150 had been put into the account from a company called VCI Limited, who I had no idea who they were. But the following day, there was a withdrawal of £400 by VCI Limited So I phoned the bank and they put me through the fraud department. And she said, well, there's actually another one pending for 600 ready to go through as well. But we can't stop that. It's already on the process through. So they realised that the first one was fraud, so I got £400 back. But then once the £600 came out again, then I got the £600 back. But they sat and put £150 into my account first to make sure they had the right number.
Right.
And then they proceeded to empty it.
Do you have any idea how they got access to your bank account?
I have no idea how they got a hold of the card number or the bank account number. I can only assume it might have been through the internet because we've been buying stuff online for a new business. So it may have been through that way. But the girl from the fraud department said she thought that they have people that sit there and just type numbers, and as soon as they've got money ready to transfer to an account, as soon as the money goes, they keep a note of that account number, and then they go back in and just start to empty it.
Mike, without giving away too many secrets, how easy is it to get access to someone like Kevin's bank account?
It's quite easy. A lot of the cyber criminals use what we call social engineering and profiling techniques. So they'll be skimming information that we're making very public through Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn and other social media tools, as well as information that they can find out about you to second-guess passwords.
Just like the pupils were doing in that school's competition, effectively.
Exactly like the pupils were doing. That's exactly the same techniques that the criminals are using.
So, Kevin, you got all the money back and you've changed all your passwords, presumably?
I've got all the money back, changed the passwords, they closed down that card and got a new bank card, yeah.
Right. Is it?
I'm very lucky in the respect. I check my business banking every day for such like. I mean, for some people that don't, they might go a week before they notice, and the whole thing's been completely emptied before they know.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Kevin.
One of the challenges here, actually, Victoria, is a lot of people will use the same password on multiple accounts. They use them on their personal accounts as well as their business accounts. And we have that great convergence of technologies. We're using the same technology in work as we are at home, so we use the same passwords for everything. Once a password is compromised on one system, like, for example, Facebook or Twitter, it's then compromised on everything that you use.
The warnings are so apocalyptic that sometimes it's quite difficult to get your head around it. When the government says, look, this is the problem we face is on a par with international terrorism, it's so pessimistic that we actually don't always believe that, do we?
No, we don't, but it's absolutely true. And one of the challenges we have, actually, is that for years we've been under-reporting when it comes to cybercrime and cyber terrorism. So we're not able, actually, as a country, as a nation, to be able to say exactly how much cybercrime or cyber terrorism there is out there. Instead of reporting it as a cybercrime, it gets reported as a traditional crime. So, for example, theft from a business account due to a cyber attack will simply be reported as theft or as fraud rather than as cyber theft or cyber fraud.
Go on, Stephanie, you wanted to come in here.
I was just going to say, I think it all underlines just how important this is, and I'm reminded that I think it was Target, a US retail company, announced just at the back end of last year that they'd had a breach, which meant that I think it was 110 million, so that's a third of the US population in terms of numbers, had been compromised. So the numbers are quite scary, and of course it's right the way across the piece, as it were. You've got on the one end cybercrime, all the way up to all sorts of other crime and things that might worry us more on the terrorism front, right at the top end. So although it seems it is a big issue, it is a big issue.
Do either of you know what percentage of hackers decide, to go down the legal route and actually become cybersecurity professionals to stop other hackers infiltrating computer systems?
I think that's an almost impossible figure to guess at. I do think, though, part of the difficulty is that particularly when you're dabbling in this sort of thing, if you haven't had any lessons about it, you've missed out on the whole ethical piece of it. It's very difficult for a lot of these guys and girls to know when they cross a line. So they may actually cross a line without really being aware of it.
Do you think so? Is that really?
Yeah, I really do think that. I mean, there's no rules out there. There's no obvious rules out there about what you should and shouldn't do. It's only when you begin to bring this into the education field and you begin to explain to people what's acceptable and what isn't, that I think that message gets across. I'd also say that I think knowing how to do these things doesn't necessarily mean you're going to do them illegally.
I think that's an important point, and it's an integral part of the school outreach programme, isn't it? That the whole issue of ethics and what's right and wrong is central to the teaching, so that these children are aware up front that there are things that they may be doing without realising it that could eventually lead to a criminal prosecution and all of the inherent issues that go along with that.
I mean, certainly all of our competitions, and we're just about to start our next round of competitions, go through all of these things. We have a very ethical take. I'd also like to emphasise that this isn't just about technical skills either. I think that was a very good point that was made. This is also about risk analysis skills. It's about translating some of this into business language so that a board of directors can understand what's going on. So it's quite a broad spectrum of skills that you require, and there's space for a very broad spectrum of people in the profession.
Thank you both very much. Thank you for talking to me. Stephanie Damon, Chief Executive of the Cyber Security Challenge, and Mike Gillespie, who runs Advent IM in the West Midlands. 10:27 5 Live. Good morning.